Hi everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you might be watching me from. This morning's program is one that you won't regret watching. Is going to be a very enlightening program. It's going to be a program that will add value to your parenting kitty. It's going to be a program that would realign, your focus or your knowledge about parenting. You are going to be learning, relearning, and unlearning, as you watch this program. The topic for today's dialogue, or should I say conversation, is navigating parenting in the Western world and African countries, a comparative analysis. We want to see what parenting is in the Western countries and, in African countries, Nigeria as a case study, because I'll be speaking, from the perspective of parents who is raising my children in an African country. Meet my guest, Mr. Davis Orimoloye. Welcome, sir. I'm glad to have you on this platform. Welcome. Mr. Davis is a successful man. I will call him a successful man because I've known him for a while now, and he balances a successful career with a very stable family life. He's a father of 4 children. He's a grandfather as well. And he raised all his children in a Western country. He raised them in France. He left Nigeria when he was just 17, and he has been in Europe for about 40 years now. So it's my guest, Mr. Davis. Welcome. Can you please introduce yourself to our guest? Can you please introduce yourself?
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. TAYELOLU, for having me here this morning. I'm glad we are finally able to make this program happen. So, I just want you to know something, because my voice is always, in the morning like this, my voice is always somehow, cracky, and people think that maybe I'm still in bed. I woke up very early since 6 a.m., so I'm no longer in bed. So, as you have rightly said, my name is Davis Mayomi Orimoloye. I'm a native of our town in Ondo State, and I left Nigeria just after my secondary school, WASC. That is what they call it those days. That is exactly 40 years ago. Then, by the grace of God, I've been able to study in France. Though I came here when I wasn't having even the slightest knowledge of the French language. But with the grace of God, and because of my passion for the language, and especially for languages, right from Nigeria, I was able to sit and write for the entrance examination into university after about 2 years of learning the French language. I graduated. Initially, I graduated in economic science. Then I did my master's degree in management, business management, and later on, after some time, I went for the what is called here in France DOR. That is the equivalent of a postmaster's degree. After a master's, you do another 2 years to what is called engineering degree. So I'm an environmental engineer, and I've been married. I got married very early, and it's exactly 32, 30, going to be 33 years now that I've been married, and I have 4 kids. The first one is already 31, going to 32. The second one is already 29, and soon be 30. And the third one is 25. The fourth is 19. So two boys first and two girls first and two boys after. Um, as the topic is going to, relating to the topic of your program today, I would say I give glory to God. It's not because I've been very special as a person, but I've tried to conciliate my professional life, my social life, and my family life over all these years, despite all the obstacles. And there, except the last one, all my three kids are graduates of universities, and one is in the American West Indies actually working, the second one in Canada, and the third one still in the third and the fourth still here in Paris. So this is the brief introduction of myself, and I'm a constant visitor to Nigeria. I come to Nigeria almost every year. So
Okay.
thank you very much.
Thank you so much. So, as we go into the program proper, I'll be asking you some questions because, of course, we want to, give our audience an insight and enlightenment as to what parenting entails in the Western countries and what it entails in countries, So as we go into the program proper, I'll be asking you questions and you'll be giving us your viewpoint from a parent who raised successfully four children in Paris, in Europe, and I would be buttressing your point. So as we go into the program, what is your assurance for our audience, especially the parents? What is your assurance for them? What do you think? What can you guarantee them that, okay, watching this program this morning, you'll be getting this and this? Can you give us that in a brief?
Well, as I've always say, mostly when I comment with on topics on the social media, I think parenting parenting is enrooted in some factors of life that are not negligible. The just I want to say my excuses first if I make some lapses or mistakes in English. I left Nigeria 40 years ago, and I didn't go to UK or US. I think I'm still
Yeah, good.
basically having the the quality of the education that I got in Nigeria in those days. Parenting it's a kind of a challenge in life for any parent, um, and I think the strength in being becoming first in the strength in parenting properly um, will will depend on the determination of the two parents, and whereby there is no second parent in the family for whatever reason, into which we wouldn't go into, whereby there is no second parent, the parent that is going to champion the parenting should endorse both roles, the role of a father and the role of a mother. Without that, I think the challenge will be enormous and will be too difficult for the parents to overcome. We are as we go on to go in depth on on this subject. I will probably talk about my own personal experience because I'm not being married to a Nigerian.
Okay.
Though I'm married to a black person, but not from Nigeria, not even from Africa. I think we may have different experiences in trying to parent our kids, and there is no special class, no special school.
For
You know,
parents.
as for me, there is no special experience that can be transposed to all experiences. We have our
Okay,
different
so
experience.
okay, so what are you telling them now that, okay, for those of you watching, this is what you get. Can you tell us that,
I,
just to
don't-
give them the conviction to go and watch?
yeah, um, for those watching me, I think what you can get is probably be inspired from the guidelines that I've
Okay.
stayed with over these years. There are some guidelines because it's like in any any school program, be it mathematics, um, or whatever you have guidelines. You have, for instance, introduction uh, to mathematics, to economics, to English. You have the ABC. So this ABC, this 1 2 3 are the the fundamental things you need to have. So by using those fundamentals, you may be able to have a successful parenting. So these fundamentals that are mine are the ones I'm going
Okay.
to give to you today. And I pray to God that you are able to deduct values
Yeah.
from them.
So going in now, going in, okay. Mr. Davis Orimoloye, can you tell us, in an overview manner, what you think parenting is? What is parenting to you? What is parenting in your own words?
In my word, parenting is, is I, I'm gonna say in a nutshell that if you in this life you decide to go into family, yeah, that is, you want to, at a point in your life, you make a decision, you want to go into family, not necessarily being married. You can be in a free thinking couple. You may just not be married, but as long as you want to start a family, parenting is like you want to sow a seed. You want to sow a seed and want that seed to germinate, and your expectation is to have crops coming out from those seeds. So, what are the duty of a farmer? A farmer is going to weed, plant, and try to manage that by watering, by allowing, because there are things that are not depending on us, that depend on God, the nature, like sun, like the air, like wind or whatever. But then you as a farmer, you need to watch over your plant. You need to, if there are weeds around, you need to remove the bad weeds. You need to make sure that your plant grows harmoniously. And when your plant grows harmoniously, when you water the plant, when you allow sun to come in, if there is any obstacle going to prevent the sun from shedding on your plant, you have to remove that. And when your plant comes out in that condition, it should be a good plant. I mean, a good uh, um, what do you call it? Seed, a good
Harvest.
harvest. Thank you
Okay.
very much. You'll be able to harvest good seeds from what you've done. This is what I think is just a uh, brave analysis of what parenting can be.
Parents. Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. So, you said it all. Parenting is guidance, parenting is light, parenting is sight to a child,
Yeah.
is guidance basically. Okay, so I think you already encapsulated in your words what I intended to say. Now, the next question. How is parenting? What is parenting like in the Western countries? What do you think parents, experientially you have been there and you are still in it because you said your children, you even still have a 19-year-old child. Okay, so you are still actively in it because as parents, we are in the lives of our children throughout, their lives for as long as we live. So parenting is continuous, is cyclical. So, what do you think parenting is in the Western countries? Maybe US, Europe, Germany, UK, Canada. Generally, what is parenting like in the Western countries?
Um, I was when I came here into this country some years ago. I was I had what is called a cultural shock. Cultural shock. This is it's like you have a kind of opposing cultural values that met. So parenting in Europe or in advanced countries, especially in the Western world, that comprises
Mm,
European countries, US, and maybe Australia. And when we say Western worlds, the people from white origin. Um, is almost totally in a position to how we parent in Africa. In Africa, there is this sense of um, responsibility that in terms of taking up family responsibilities that we inculcate into our kids right from their childhood. But in opposite, in Western world, parents don't educate their kids to be responsible for the family eventually. And there are differences whereby parents in Europe, there is a there is, there's no much gap of respect you know between two
mm,
people. A
mm,
father is in fact, especially when a father, for instance, is not the biological father of a child, sometimes it's not called father, it's called by his name by the child. The child calls the
mm.
father
Yeah.
the fostering
Oh, but
father.
Phillips,
Yeah,
Frank.
yes. So, for instance, if I'm not a biological father of a child and I'm married to the mom, there is no obligation for the child to call me father, and it
Mm,
can call me by my name. And this is something that doesn't happen
mm,
in Nigeria because it's about adult and the child. So maybe it happens, but I've never had it. Maybe a child of like 10 years old calling the husband of the father, I mean the mom, who is about 40 or more, by his name. So this is one thing. Another thing is that uh, children don't have any dichotomy between themselves. The brothers, the sisters, they call themselves by names. You know,
mm,
there is no my though they may refer to my elder brother, my younger sister, but if, for instance, my last son will call his elder sister by her name, not my ẹ̀gbọ́n or my elder
and
sister.
a lie. But I
Exactly.
told you.
No. There is nothing like that. He or she will call the eldest by name. So when we parent here, we cannot impose those values because they are not their values. And there are so many other examples. For instance, parenting a child here, you cannot force the child to do what he or she doesn't want to do. You cannot impose
Mm,
on the child. You can only um, advise or try to use diplomacy to make the child to do whatever you want he or she to do. So you cannot coerce, you cannot impose, you cannot use any sort of physical violence, even verbal violence, you cannot, because the child may even stand up and tell you that you have no right to say such things or to do those things. So parenting here, it's coded by law. That is, there are guidelines by the law on how you can parent your child. Your child is your child, but law tells you what you can do or what you cannot do to your child. It's about the children's human right. So I think uh, in Africa, in Nigeria, parents have what I can say an alpha and omega authority on their children.
Mm, okay. All right. All right. Is that all, or you want to add some points?
Um, Also, I mean, even say that parenting here is it's I think there's also a difference when one of the couple is an African and the other is an European. The
Okay.
the parenting may have some difficulties in
Okay.
terms of because the African person who either be the man or the woman who want to maybe it depends on the age he or she came to the Western world. May I mean instinctively may want to introduce his or her own method understanding of parenting in the parenting of the child. And
Okay.
this is going to, most of the time will be in opposition. The woman or the man that is not from that culture may be in opposition to that method. So if 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 you give up, if you give up because of that reason, definitely you will fail in parenting your child.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
but also in Africa, as much as I know, in Nigeria, father and mom they have the right to parent their child, and the authority, the ultimate authority to impose or to say the last word goes to the father, which is not
Yes.
always the same in Europe. It's not. It's almost never that in Europe. It's it's not the dad that often gives the final. I mean, takes the final decision. It can always be the mom, and
Okay.
without the word being said, without the mom saying, "I'm taking the final decision," she can always have a way of taking the final decision to which the father may not be able to oppose to.
Okay.
So
Okay. Good. Thank you so much. You've given us an in-depth light of what it is experientially, to parent children in Europe, partly because you have raised your own children in a Western country. And you raised some very salient points that I believe will serve as, light for any parents watching this program who is raising their children abroad. Okay, I would like to add, my 1 or 2 cents to it. Parenting in Nigeria, you said that parents don't usually raise their children. Okay, parents in Nigeria raise their children to be dependent on them eventually. I think this is very, very, very true. The parents in Nigeria, even from a young age, a child can tell that I'll be the one to take care of my children tomorrow, of my parents. I'll be the one to feed my parents tomorrow, because the parents would either directly or indirectly let them know that, I'm doing this because you will still do this tomorrow, either by their actions, by gestures, or whatever. But parents abroad, they just raise their children to be independent. So I
exactly.
think that is very, very, very clear. Yes. Also, in the area of respect in Nigeria, I'm speaking from the standpoint of a parent raising my children in Nigeria. You are of dual citizenship. You are a Nigerian, you are also, from there, okay? But you raised your children there. So I'm speaking from the standpoint of a Nigerian raising my children in Nigeria. When it comes to respect, when it comes to family structure, in Nigeria, they live a kind of communal lifestyle where you can, in a family, you see uncles, aunties living in, grandfather, maybe grandmother from mommy staying in, relatives here, cousins here. And so, because of this, it's like we have a whole lot of people, putting their influence on that child, either directly or indirectly. A lot of people are raising the children, not only the parents. But usually in the Western countries, it's more of a nuclear style where it is the integrated family that is usually, at home living with the children to raise them. You really did, how you said it in a comparative light, which limits what I will be able to say, because like you encapsulated it very intelligently. As you speak about this, you also speak about that. And I think that is one of the major reasons why I'm grateful I have you on this platform. So now, as an extract from what you just said, from all you just said, can you say confidently that parenting abroad is easier than parenting in Nigeria? Although you didn't raise your own children in Nigeria, but you are a Nigerian, and you said in the beginning of this program that you visit home very frequently. So you would have had, seen your siblings or your relatives raising their own children as well. So from what you can perceive, from what you see when you come to Nigeria, and what you tangibly experience as a parent raising your own children abroad, can you say it's easier raising children there or it's easier here? Can you take a position? Is it possible to take a position?
Um, well, I would I would say it's
Dicey
I would say it's controversial. It's controversial because um, from my experience, I may say it's easier raising a child here, and but
question.
from my from my European culture point of view, I can say it's easier to raise a child here. And from Nigerian point of view, I will say it's easier to raise a child in Nigeria. The fact is that there are factors you have talked about the family strength. When we talk about family, is what is called the family as wide as it is in Nigeria. That is, it's not a nucleus family like it is in Europe. The nucleus family has its advantages and disadvantages. The the kind of family we have in Africa has also its advantages and disadvantages. I'll mention like three disadvantages of a nucleus family here. If you are a working class woman, like you work here and you find yourself to be the sole person raising your children, um, life can be hell for you. You can find it very, very difficult to raise that child successfully. In the sense that though you will have all the social structures that will help you, like you have what is called creche, that is nursery school, nursery home where you put your kid before going to work. But that nursery school is timed. It's probably
Mhm.
starts 7 a.m. and by 4 p.m. or 5 p.m. it's over. You need to take your child at that very time, and if you don't take your child like the first or the second time, by the third time you may just be surprised that they'll put that child at the police station for you to go and take the child. you know. So they will warn you the first, the second time for probably coming late, and the third, fourth time they may hand the child to the police before, because the social workers there will not do extra hours taking care of your child because they have to leave. And this is the disadvantage of raising a child like a single parent, for instance, raising a child, because in Africa you have family members like your sister, like your uncle, like your auntie, who may even live with you simply because that person will help you to take care of your child. Here, uh, it's sadly you don't find it easy where somebody will bring a sibling or a sibling to live just to help to raise the child. So the difficulty is there. The second example is that um, you in Nigeria you can give whatever you have to your child when you are raising your child. The child can eat gari in the morning, gari in the afternoon, and there may be amala or whatever in the evening. But here, though you have what is called social assistance to the family to be able to have a minimum decent life, but if you have other financial difficulties and you are unable to feed your child with the child may stand up to you and say, "No, I don't eat this rubbish. You give me this money, you give me this afternoon. I'm not taking it this evening." So there is this education that basically encourages a child to stand up for his or her right. They teach them in school. They teach them in
I
school.
give
This,
them a hug.
yes,
Hmm.
these are what your parents can do to you. These are what your parents cannot do to you. And they let them know that if your parents goes out of this bracket, let us know. The child can report the parent to the school,
The school.
and
Okay. Hmm.
the school authority will take the case over, will report to the social worker, and the social worker will take it as if it's her business, you know,
Hmm.
because the children here, the parenting children here is guided by the law.
Hmm.
Is guided by the law.
Parenting
Yes,
is guided by the. Hmm.
yes. You don't say I'm your parent. For instance, another example is that you cannot raise a hand and slap your child here just anyhow.
Okay.
If you do
Hmm.
that, the child may not say anything the first time, the second time, the third time, the child may report you either to the police or to the social worker in school. So in Nigeria, I think I think no child will go to report.
Such a dare it, honestly.
Even in Nigeria, the
Laughable. Yes.
yes, even in Nigeria, the child can even be beaten by cousin, by auntie,
Hmm.
by whoever,
Anybody
even yes, even the neighbor living close
can
can
help you beat your child.
discipline the child. And the
Hmm.
child may feel very bad about it, but he or she will not have much say and even the parent can even applaud the person for beating the child.
The child.
So
Hmm.
so
Okay.
in Europe, in Western world, you may do it, but you do it in a way with a lot of discretion. You will
Hmm.
do it with understanding the limit, because if you go beyond that limit, it's going to be uh, qualified as violence,
Right.
domestic violence on a child, and it's
Hmm.
prohibited by the law. You may
Hmm.
eventually lose the authority of education on the child.
Hmm.
If you
Really?
constantly call to order, if you are constantly called to order for beating your child, they will not qualify it as educating the child. They will qualify it as molesting, harassing,
Let's
and violating the child's right.
okay. You have spoken well, intelligently yet again, Mr. Davis. Myself, I also will not take a position because I asked you if you believe that parenting children abroad is better than Nigeria, and you smartly, gave it a balance, a healthy balance. Myself as well, I won't take a position. I won't say significantly that raising children in Nigeria is better than raising them in the Western countries because there are advantages and disadvantages. If I can refer to some of the points you gave the other time, you said parenting in the Western world is somehow democratic, it's not autocratic. A child has a say. When you
Yes.
mistreat your child, the child can give their voice, can lend their voice and all of that. But in Nigeria is autocratic. A lot, significantly, 90% of everything rests on the parents. If not that recently with the advent of social media, which makes the world now to become a global village, a lot of things from the Western civilization is beginning to filter into the usual, the norm in Africa. We are trying to copy this, we are trying to emulate that. Even parents are trying to integrate some certain styles of parenting from the Western world. They are trying to integrate it into their style of parenting. But basically in Nigeria, in Africa, Nigeria as a case study, let me not mix that up. I'm representing Africa today. It's basically autocratic. The parents speak, and it has to be that. And like you said, the father's word takes the cake. The father's word is the final. That is how it is in Africa. So there are advantages to that, there are disadvantages. You also said parenting in the Western countries is guided by law, is coded by law. The law is involved. But in Nigeria, a parent can do anything and get away with it. Okay, the child cannot do anything and all of that. But don't you think that there is a major disadvantage to the involvement of the law in parenting as it pertains to the Western countries, especially as it relates to police? Don't you think this is a huge disadvantage? You are Mr. Davis Orimoloye, you are first from African Nigerian extraction before you got your second citizenship at Paris there. So let's look at it with a more realistic approach. Do you not think objectively that the involvement of the law, the involvement of police as it pertains to parenting in the Western world, don't you think that that is a major challenge? That is a hindrance to profitable parenting? Let's have your view on that, please. The involvement of the
Um,
law.
yes, I would disagree with you because I'll disagree with you that the involvement of the law, the law here is not a corrupt law. The law here is not a corrupt law. The police here are not corrupt ones, because even the police, they have what is called modus operandi. That is, they have their own code of conduct. They don't just do anything they feel like. If you go to the first police station here, I mean, your child goes to the police here, and the police in this station is going to act this way. If that child goes to 1,000 kilometers away police station, that police station 1,000 is going to act exactly like the one of his neighborhood. Uh, in Nigeria, I think there is no respect of law. There are probably codes, laws that the police they should use. I wouldn't say the lawmakers did not make provisions for those laws, but the laws are not applied basically the way they should. So if a child goes because the child has been taught in school about his human rights, it is not because they want the child to oppose to the parents' form of education. It's
Yes.
because they want the child to grow into responsible adult
Okay.
for that child to already have and to have seized the what is called the sociability of the individual. Because there is a proverb here that where your right stops, that's where my own starts. And where mine stops,
Okay.
yours start from that. So for harmonious society, laws are made and laws imposes itself on each and individual of the society.
Okay.
So if a child goes to the place to talk that, because why? The child's life it's probably at risk. If he has a father who is a drunkard, for instance, a father who drinks heavily and unable to discern when he's drunk, uh, imposes violence on the child or on the mom. If the child cannot go to the place to report, so he's going to do it. If the child is being violated and he or she cannot talk about it, so his life, the quality of the life he's going to have will be negative because he too, eventually, he will grow into an adult who may either uh, diametrically oppose to what is called normalized education. He may even himself or herself become excessively violent. And that is transposing the violence he or she has uh, went through in his childhood or her childhood on the society. That is, if eventually she becomes a teacher, can you imagine a teacher taking a cane or whip to whip a child in the school? It is absolutely impossible in the Western world.
Okay.
So
I okay, go
police
on, sir.
police are there, police are there to to make sure that the laws are respected by all. So in Nigeria, a child cannot go. It's not an advantage in Nigeria for a child to die in silence because
Mm.
whoever has the power, the authority on that child that is exercising violence or trying to educate the child in a wrong way, eventually will will instill in that child the the violent how do you call it? The child will grow to become eventually a violent person, and that can be
Okay.
dangerous.
Okay. I almost interrupted you to disagree with you, but you spoke to a point where I had to agree with you that sometimes the law, the involvement of the law in parenting can keep parents in check. With the advent of sexual abuse prevalent in most homes now, with the advent of some parents, taking physical punishment too far, I think the law can become an advantage. So that was why I didn't interrupt you because I almost said that the involvement of the law will make a child to be excessively exuberant when it comes to conforming to the guidelines, rules and regulations expected of that child. When the child knows that I can always go to the police, I can always go and report, it would make them to be excessively exuberant and irresponsible. But when you spoke to up to a point where you said that the involvement of the law is to help everybody, to keep everyone in check, that was where I had to give in that sometimes the law can be an advantage if they do not overstretch their powers. So thank you for that. The next question, I hope our viewers are learning. Mr. Davis Orimoloye, and in particular and exact words, can you tell us what the challenges are of parenting children in the Western world? What are particular challenges that you can ascribe tangibly to raising children abroad?
Um, You have maybe the challenges can be classified in both sides. The children that are being raised by the parents, they may have their challenges, and the parents raising the children have their challenges. Um, the challenges are numerous in abroad because we as Africans in Europe or in Western world, especially those of us uh, who have become probably parents before they left Nigeria, uh, who have been around probably 30 years, 34, 50 years, I mean 40 years, or even 50 before they come. The challenges are much more for them than for those of us who came in our uh, maybe very young age, um, because along the way we've been able to blend the culture, the basic education we receive in Africa and the new ones in our lives here, and we have been able to sort out what we think is good for us and from our original culture, and what we think we need to put aside for our betterment. And we have also been able to see what is criticizable, or as they call it, criticize, what we can criticize or where we should not adopt from their own culture. So the advantage is that if we are able to make a blend and try to deduct the positive and the negative, and try to put these puzzles together, we may successfully raise our child. I mean, here, if uh, we are in total opposition to the method and the culture here, we try to bring our own and impose it. It's not going to work. It wouldn't work at all. We will fail totally in parenting. So the advantage is that we have these two cultures. We have the culture of respect, for instance, because I started by saying that a child can call probably a stepfather by his name, and a younger brother can call the elder sister by her name. There is no this differentiation. There is no need. There is no notion of respecting the elder ones. So we as Africans that are able to understand this can try to introduce that in our family. Though we will not change the mentality, we will not say you should call your brother like brother me, sister me. No, they use it, but they use it in a different way that is not like we impose it. So, but we should be able to uh, create this this line of authority between the elder and the younger by telling them that in our culture, referring constantly to our own culture, that a younger brother doesn't is not rude to the elder one, doesn't just call his brother, though you can't say call him, because even the calling brother in our language is not, it's Egbomi. Egbomi means my elder. So it is in abroad. The children also call themselves in that way. They call, but there is no notion of authority. You know, that is the delays. I mean, the how do the social stratification. There is no stratification. So the advantage of those of us who are from Africa is that we can able to blend the two, to make the children to one uh, adopt and respect our African values at the same time
Okay.
as their own value here. So the mixture of the two will make you as an African parent to be successful in parenting that child. And also
Okay.
the child will be the mom or the dad who is from Western world will also be successful in the parenting. So that's what I can
Okay.
say.
Thank you so much. Okay, so I believe that Osiwe Otunmo, Otunwe Osimo, Onlowo Finmo,
Oh,
and no man
Fimo.
is an island of knowledge. Yes. So my position is that I mentioned earlier that globalization, civilization, westernization is, eroding the very fabric of what makes us African. I'm speaking representing Africans in this dialogue. So I believe our norms, our rich culture, our values, they are what distinguishes us as who we are as a people, as Africans. For example, you spoke about respect. In Africa now, a child cannot call the stepfather by name. You can't call your stepmother by name. When we are greeting our elders, I'm of Yoruba extraction. There's a certain conduct expected of us as we, greet our elders. This distinguishes us. It exemplifies us. Okay, the respect, the greeting, our language, our the younger ones calling their older ones egbon, brother me, auntie me, it beautifies us, it's us. So as much as Otunfewe Osimo, Osifewe Otunmo, we should know what to pick, we should know what to adopt. This globalization and westernization of a thing, I think we are the ones surrendering more. We are taking in things from the Western world so much that it's eroding and impeding, depleting what makes us to be us. We've been using our style in ages past and it's been working for us. Raising me in Nigeria, in an African country, profited me. It worked for me. So in raising my children, I can say, okay, the world is evolving. With the advent of social media and all, let me borrow one or two things from the Western style of parenting, but not that I will have to surrender all of my own. And I think that is a major problem we are having in Africa now. The environment we live in is different from the environment that the Western people are. So when we are copying from them or picking from their style, we should be aware of our environment. Now with the increase of sexual abuse here and there, like the law part, the involvement of the law part is something I believe we can partly integrate into parenting our own children in African countries. Okay, so no man is an island, even those abroad can borrow here and there. Okay, they do this in Nigeria, it works. Let me strategically integrate it into parenting. Still aware that the environment I am is not Nigeria, is not Ghana, is not whatever. Okay, so we should carry that awareness. Even when we are trying to pick values, pick styles, pick this from, maybe from Western countries or Western countries trying to pick from us, we should be aware of environment. Okay, look at this yahoo stuff now. Look at even the style of dressing. Our style of dressing has been pleaded. Our children no longer dress like Africans. So I just mentioned that as an example. We are focusing on parenting. So let us, none is superior to the other, like you said. And I really like that part. None is superior. That you raise your children abroad does not make your children superior to children that are raised in Nigeria or Africa. And that you are raising your child in an African country does not and should not make your children have a sense of inferiority to children being raised abroad. Okay, so the next question. I'm really enjoying this, but we have to be aware of the time. Okay, now we've spoken about the challenges. What do you think is the solution to having a more successful parenting experience, no matter your location? What do you think? What are your suggestions? Okay, whether you are in Nigeria or you are abroad, though, this is what I believe can make you succeed better in the area of parenting. Let's hear you, sir.
Uh, um, I want to just return to the last comment you made, your observation about the quality of education and how we should raise our child to inculcate in them the two values. I just want to digress from that to talk about what is called social sexual abuse. Um, we talk about the the negativity of a child reporting to the police what he or she is experiencing, and we also talk about the co-education of a child uh, in Africa by the whole village, because somebody made a statement that four eyes um, can have a child, and thousands will raise the child or whatever. I think it's very wrong. This is an African culture that is totally wrong, and I'm not going to endorse that. Uh, if I have my own child, if I need to, I have to raise my child, but harmoniously with the codes of respect of the society where I live. Uh, it is not, I don't think it's necessary for an outsider, somebody who's not in my home or my family, to raise my child for me. It is not a good culture. It's not a good culture at all. And we parents, when we decide to become parents, we should be ready to assume our responsibility of educating our child. And that responsibility should be immersed, should be integrated in what is called the social code of conduct. That is, everybody knows that, as I've said earlier, that where my right stops, that is where yours starts. If I raise my own child, the way that the code, the social codes of law, you know, makes it mandatory on me to raise my child. They don't care whatever the relationship the child is having with me, but what the society cares about are the child's relationship with other children, with other people of the society. So if I want my child to be responsible socially, I need to raise my child in a way that not only he or she will be responsible to herself, but also to the society. But for instance, now, when we talk about sexual abuse of children, if it's not for the advent of this social media now with a camera, with video and all these things, so many parents actually abuse of their children, either the stepfathers or the stepmothers or whatever, because I think in Africa we still have this moral value that a woman cannot rape her stepson.
Yes.
I think it's
Yes.
going to be madness. I don't think it happens. Maybe it happens somewhere, but to my knowledge, but we cannot erase the fact that stepfathers can sexually abuse of their stepdaughters. It is absolutely possible. And when you say maybe it's something unthinkable for a child to report to the police in parenting, then because the mother is not actually seeing what is going on, and if this child cannot have the human right to report to an outsider, the school, the school principal or the police, then this child is going to suffer from sexual abuse for many years without anybody knowing. I talk about an actor. There is an actor in Nigeria who for many years abused sexually of a child. And when this came on the social media, the police is not allowed to do the investigation and do the work. It becomes a public topic where people transform themselves into the justice. They did not allow the justice to take its course because it became a
Yeah,
public.
what?
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Brilliant.
it's that
Brilliant.
one influences that one. If here public don't make justice, justice reigns on its own. No matter what public opinion, no
Mm.
matter whatever they say, they don't influence the course of the law. So if a child is sexually abused and report, or somebody report on behalf of the child, the justice will take its course without listening to the public opinion. The justice will not change what they need to do because they hear so many people saying is the child's fault. How can a man be raping a young girl and public, some people will come out to vomit rubbish that maybe the kid was the one exposing herself, maybe wearing things to
Using the adult,
seducing
yeah.
the person.
Media
So
lawyers, yeah.
exactly, that is why the difficulty in raising, in parenting a child in Africa is much more difficult there than here. Because here, the child right from school is taught what is called her human rights.
Right. Hmm.
And in Africa, you don't teach. I know of somebody, even in 21st century, where the teacher in school will use a whip to beat that child in school. Like the child is not a human being with all the, it's not
Barbaric.
possible.
In a barbaric way, yes.
So how can you, there was another example where in a school they decreed that all the telephones the children are using should be broken by the children themselves. This is
Yes. I
what is
saw
called,
that.
yes, it's violence. It's violence on the children. It's violence because it's not only counterproductive, it makes the children to become socially violent as well. So all these things, these are the disadvantages. I'm not saying that there are no advantages, a lot of values because we have family values. But when this our own family values is not limited within the scope and is being what do you call it? The value is given to the third or fourth or fifth person, then it becomes distorted. It's no more value. It becomes an individual's value. So 5, 10, 20 people will raise their own child in their own understanding of what a child should be. That is, when the whole village is raising your child, helping you to raise, each person will capitalize, will want to raise a child in his or her own understanding of parenting.
Yeah.
So the child is going to be subjected to the different kinds of influences and abuse of authority. But in Nero, the guideline is strictly for everybody. Everybody. You can impact your culture, your tradition, whatever. But when it doesn't fix in the context of the society, cohabitation. That is, we are all citizens. We are living in a society that nobody can impose what is not of the public on the public. Then the education and parenting is much more easier. If you don't want your child to report you to the police, you don't abuse of the child's right. You can't
True.
just boom slap a child anytime the child raises his or her voice. You whip the child. If the child is not going to fetch water for you, you beat the child. If the child is not ready to sleep because he is not feeling that you beat the child. Or you even do what is called food deprivation. You don't give the child the food because you think you are educating the child. No, it is wrong because the child that is not fed, the child is bitter. And that anger can go beyond the family spec to outside. Either the child is going to commit a crime, to either the child is going to commit a crime, or the child is going to become, uh, in bitterness, the child may even dislike the
Can
parents, may hate the parents, but and at the same time, he or she will not be able to tell the mom or the dad, "I hate you."
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you
So
so much.
the laws
True.
here, the laws here are not made to make children disrespect the parents. They are made to make the child affirm his or her right, at the same time endorse the good education that the family is giving to. So the child is going to make use of the two. He will grow into adulthood harmoniously, respecting the rights of others in the society and also respecting the home values given to him by the parents.
Thank
In Nigeria,
you.
it's sometimes one-sided. One-sided. Everybody want to impose his or her discipline on a child according to
Mm.
his or understanding of education. It's wrong.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So just give us 2 points, 2 words of guidance for any parents watching us now from a Western country and needs light and sight to doing better with parenting. Can you give them 2 or 3, words of tangible words of advice that if you incorporate this into your parenting, I believe you'll be able to do better. If you try this, can you please give us that from your wealth of knowledge?
I think the one major thing that parents should do is, um, I think, where there is love and understanding, there are possibilities. Um, Either you are a single parent or you are a couple, both of you are raising your child. What you should have in mind is the love of the child. The love of the child is not superficial. It's not just what you voice. It has to be a daily practice. To show a child love, it has to be expressive. It has to be externalized. It has to be in your behavior, your attitude to the child. A child that feels loved by the parent or the parents is a child that is going to grow with the understanding of what love is and can also disseminate love around him or herself. And uh, it is possible whereby there is what is called harmonious environment. If a child is constantly seeing the parents probably fighting, beating themselves, and you know, the 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 expression of love for the child will not be concrete. The expression will be distorted by the vision that this what the child is actually seeing. And so one thing you should do to be able to is to what is called self-discipline. Self-discipline in everything you do, in the presence of the child, to the child, to the to the mom or to the dad. You need to be guided by what is called self-discipline. There are sometimes you may be wrong. You need to accept that you are wrong. When you are right, you don't actually insist on the fact that you are right. There are ways of saying it. That is, when you try to build a home, you need to be ready to make sacrifice. That is, you would say they say two wrongs don't make a right. You don't need to believe that you are always right, even when you are wrong. So that is called justice. When you are wrong,
Okay.
you admit that you are wrong. When you are right, don't always say, I am right. There is a way to say, because even saying that you are right all the time to the person is also wrong. You need to have a way to show the person that you are right and let the person actually decide if you are right or you are wrong. That is one thing. For you to be able to successfully raise a child, parent a child, you need to be uh, self-disciplined. It englobes a lot. Self-discipline is, you can say so many reasons where a man or a woman should be self-disciplined. The second advice, or the second um, what I think is also good to successfully parent is to work hard, to work hard, having in mind that those children you brought to the world cannot fend for themselves, cannot help themselves until they get to the age whereby they can help themselves. That is adulthood. I think that starts around the age of 20 years old. Uh, it is not good that, as it is in Africa, that a child at the age of 7, 10 or so will consider that he or she can fend for him or herself. When you have a child, you should be able to work hard to provide for the needs of the child. That is, for the child to grow comfortably. And the third thing is to have a focus, to have a focus on if you want a successful family or you want a disintegrated family. If you make it an option that you want to be successful in your family, raising your children successfully, all the ingredients that lead to success must be utilized. Two parents, I mean a couple, even if for a single parent, you need to have this belief or this desire to succeed in raising your child. When you have this very strong belief that you must be a successful parent, then it's not just by saying, it's by working on it, every day, daily, struggling, not because you want the child, contrary to what happens in Africa, to come later to fend for you, to take care of you. No, 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 it's wrong. You don't raise a child for the child to come for a payback, to take care of you. No, because that is what is called extensive dependency. You don't raise a child because when you invest in a child and hoping that child should come and pay back by taking, no, it's wrong. You are not investing in the child for the child to come and do anything for you. You raise a child for the child to be able to do something for him or herself. In return, you can only expect love, affection from the child. Because when you grow old, what you need is no money, is no house, is no car, is no whatever, is no parties, it's affection. The presence of the child, the presence of your grandchildren, that is what you need at that age. So your investment is to capitalize for them. So these are the three things. You don't say it's a wrong culture. I would say, I'm sorry to say, it's a wrong culture in Africa to raise a child, believing that that child must come back later to take care of us. No.
All right.
So
Thank you.
these are the
Thank you.
three guidelines
Thank
I think
you.
we'll have to succeed in
Thank
parenting
you.
our children.
Thank you so much, Mr. Davis Orimoloye. I want to add my points to that, okay, so that they can have, a more extensive knowledge. Okay. Number one suggestion for better parenting is I want to use the word of God. I know I know you are not a religious person, Mr. Dave, but please just allow me to be me. Okay. Proverbs 3 verse 5 and 6. It says, trust in the Lord with all your heart. Do not lean on your own understanding. In all your ways, acknowledge Him, and He shall direct your path. When you involve God consciously, He will guide you all the way. Also, John 15, verse 5, I'm the vine, you are the branches. Whoever is at whatever branch is attached to the vine bears good fruits, because without me you can do nothing. So as a parent, consciously involve God from time to time. When it becomes burdensome, when it becomes cloudy, when it becomes turbulent, I usually advise parents, go back to God. These children are trust in our hands. God entrusted them to us. God is the source, God is the owner. So when it becomes rather tough, go back to God. God, this child is yours. This child is from you. You are the source, you are the origin. I'm seeing this trait in my child. Can you please help me? Or is becoming a handful raising these children. Can you please give me more capacity? Can you help me? So I believe that we should be more intentional with godliness, with getting closer to God, so that our journey in parenting can become easier. Number 2 suggestion is, okay, before I go to number 2, godliness. I usually say education is not the best legacy for a child. Godliness is. When godliness is a part of a child from a young age, the foundation is already solid on which any other thing can rest. Because a child today will become a parent tomorrow. It's cyclical. So make sure that you prioritize making your children to be godly from a young age. Number 2, love. Mr. Orimoloye spoke about that where there's love, there are possibilities. And please, I want you to listen to me. Please, it is better for a child to be from a broken home than to live in a broken home, because everything we do is, we are role modeling to our children. We are showing our children who they should become when they get married and become parents themselves. In a family where a father continually beats and batters the mother, without any sense of conscience or sobriety, that kind of marriage might be better if the couples are separated. So I'm saying that it is better for a child, it is healthier mentally and psychologically for a child to be from a broken home than to live in a broken home. So set your priorities right as a family. Know that whatever you are doing before your children, you are raising them and telling them who to become in future.
Sure.
So let love reign in your homes. Number 3, stop silencing your children. One of the things I totally agree with Mr. Orimoloye upon in this program today is the involvement of the law. The children are being taught in the Western countries to have a voice from a young age, to have a voice, to lend their voice when necessary. And I think this is a negativity when it comes to parenting in Nigeria. Some children are being treated very unfairly in their homes, and they cannot even report to anybody. They are so terrified, they are so petrified, they are so scared that they will be in that rut until their life is almost gone.
Yeah.
So parents raising children in African countries should learn not to silence the voice of their children. And I usually say something: any child you are raising that says yes, yes, yes to everything you say might not be the perfect child.
Exactly.
But the child that challenges you sometimes, the child that sometimes says, "Mommy, why should I do this? Why are you asking me to do this, Daddy?" Sometimes those children are better. So stop raising a yes ma, yes sir child. Obedience is good, respect is good, honor is good, but in all of this, let your children have their own voice as individuals. Okay, so number 4 and finally, I usually tell the children registered in my mentorship program, nobody can make up your mind for you. Make up your mind as a parent that you want to be better in parenting. Make up your mind. It's a decision. As you are watching this program, I'm sure that God would have been pointing 1 or 2 things to you that you are supposed to make adjustment about. Make those adjustments. We over magnify excessively spirituality in Africa, and most times it undermines us from doing practically what we are sometimes supposed to do. Faith without works is dead. Whatever you are supposed to impute into your parenting, adjust in your parenting, do it with alacrity, do it with all seriousness. Parenting is no joke, it is serious business. And for every child God gave to you, you will give account of every one of them on the last day. So I pray that as you have watched, us do this program and listened to my very intelligent and brilliant guest, Mr. David Orimoloye, I'm confident you've been able to add one or two things to your parenting, your parenting kitty. You have been able to add value. So before we go, Mr. Davis, can you give us, parting words? Can you give us parents parting words? You are experienced, you are seasoned, your children are very successful. Even in your career, you are doing well. You were able to maintain a healthy balance between your work life and your family. You did not allow one to swallow the other. A lot of successful parents, they are lacking when it comes to family and parenting. It's like there's a compromise that as one goes up, the other goes down. But yours is not like that. You have your own company. You are a founder of a very successful company in France. Your children are also doing well. Can you give us words of light, parting words that will help us, that will add to our parenting kitty as parents? Let's hear you
I
speak.
before we go, I will. This is a probably personal confession because as you have as you have presented me, it may look like I'm 100% successful in everything. No, I also have my shortcomings and my flaws. Like recently, this may be shocking to the viewers that my last son actually failed his final year to go into the university, not in the exam, because as a parent, and this is a son that we love, that we think that is going to be the perfect son, because
Hmm.
right from his childhood, he has been taking good care of us, giving us, with the parents, the feeling that when he grows up, even if the brothers and sisters that he's going to be very close to us. So we've been showing him love. Maybe we've over pampered. Maybe we have made some mistakes in our parenting him, and to our greatest surprise, he did not obtain his diploma. So he has to resit for that exam the next session. And we are trying to, this is just to tell parents that there is no perfect parent, there is no perfect parenting. Whereby you think you are the best, you may fail in some areas that other parents will succeed. We need to put God in whatever we do. You have said that I am not religious. It is not that I'm not. I'm a believer. I'm a Christian. It's only I'm just opposed to the expansion of religion in Africa and Nigeria to the detriment of probably society building or building the economy for all of us to be able to enjoy the resources of our country. So this is where I'm opposed to. I'm not opposed to faith. I'm opposed to religion because both are not the same. So this is why I'm giving testimony of my failure as a because I consider as if that as a failure, uh, as I guided the other three kids successfully to they have their university degrees and everything. I consider that I failed. I've been bitter since almost 1 week now that the result came out because I know I did the normal work. I tried, I educated that my son the way I educated the elders. But unfortunately, in terms of his education, it did not work out that way. But nothing is lost. That is why parents should not think that they have to force things into the heads of their children. You don't force things, you give guidelines, you help to build a child. The child will take values and will use them, and God will also come in to help the child to be successful. So this
Hmm.
is the word. the final word I will say is that we need to work as much as we pray. We need to believe in the divinity of God to help us in raising our children, not for the children to be responsible to us, but to themselves first, then to give us love at our old age. Then we should also constantly pray to God for our work not to be in vain. These are the final words. Because there is no perfect parenting, we just need to be on the legal side and the love side. Legal, we think of the human rights of the child to help the child to become a good adult. Love is what we need to also implant in all their lives. Thank you very much.
Thank Thank you so much. I'll have to, appreciate you, especially for your honesty. What you just said now is very, very, very heartwarming. A lot of people would have just taken that theology and ran with it. But immediately I said a perfect this and that, you said, no, I failed in this area. And I know that this your sense of honesty is a major part reason why your children are really succeeding. And I pray that in every area where they are still bent or lows, that God will give you a level
Amen.
ground in the name of Jesus.
Amen.
So this brings us to the end. The Bible says in Proverbs 22 verse 6, it says, train up a child the way he should go, and when he grows up, he will not depart from it. That means there's a way to train up a child, and there's a way to train down a child. Parents, train up your children so that you can have rest and peace at the evening of your life. The actual substance of the life of any parent is dependent on the quality of children that parent has raised. Let your standard be high. Raise your children well. And I know God will help us in Jesus' name.
Amen.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. This
Thank
brings
you.
us to the end of the program. I will call you right after now. Thank you all for
Thank you.
watching.